Welcome, Bananiac, to Raw and Cooked Vegan.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Good to have you. So tell me a little bit about diet as you were growing up and fitness, how your family was oriented toward that.
Yeah. So I grew up on a diet that was the farthest thing from vegan. My background is Greek, so I used to live there for about 3 or 4 years, my early childhood, and would just go back and forth during the summers as vacationing. So I grew up on a modern Greek diet, nothing like how it used to be. Now it's just heavy packed on the meat. They're bringing yogurt, like you probably see in the supermarkets now. They have the Greek yogurts, lots of dairy, cheese, and all that. So basically, I grew up something similar to a standard American diet. I was never fat as a kid. I was never too overweight, but I was never fit as a kid either. So, when we get to about high school, I'm eating like maybe a couple times a week at Five Guys, like at a burger joint, just a couple times a week, and just not caring about my health. I was doing what I thought was right, eating in moderation and things like that. But yeah, just eating at burger joints and just thinking I was doing well. And I was always kind of into health, playing sports in high school. I was on a soccer team, track and field team. So I always thought nutrition was important in a sports perspective. And once I got into college, I started seeing everyone around me just get really overweight, start bad habits, drinking, smoking, eating at fast food places. And I was like, wow, I'm heading the same place as these guys are. I'm doing exactly what they're doing. So why not go in a different direction? I started thinking about nutrition. I thought nutrition had to be important. So I started cleaning out my diet a little bit. I started eating more organic, started eliminating processed foods. And then I was always watching stuff online, and I ran into this paleo thing. And so I gave that a try, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I always heard carbs make you fat.
Tino, let me ask you for a sec. This kind of started to shift in like freshman year in college?
Yeah, about freshman year, I'd say.
Okay.
So yeah, I did lots of meat after that, watching some videos. I was eating like maybe one sweet potato a day. Now I can go through a whole bag of it. So it's insane. And I started losing weight, right? And I thought it was working out for me. But going, playing soccer and trying to lift weights, going out for runs, I didn't have the energy to put out. And so not only could I not put out on the sports aspect, but I also got really sick. I remember once it must have been summer 2010, I took a summer class, and I was out for like a week. And a week is like a really big chunk of summer classes. They're like 6 weeks long. So I was out for a week getting really, really hot and really, really cold. I remember being out in the hot summer day in like sweats because I was freezing. So yeah, I would just get really, really sick. And then I started to look more into diet. I'm like, maybe I'm doing something wrong here. And then I ran into...
Let me ask you, about how long would you say you were doing the primal thing?
Yeah, definitely over a year for sure.
That's really interesting. Because you hear the advocates saying that it's being used now by athletes, but at least your experience has bore out that was not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine just being a professional athlete at least and doing the paleo thing. I mean, we'll go into this later, but carbs are your energy source. But anyway, so. After a little while of getting sick and just not feeling good, I ran into this documentary called Forks Over Knives. And that changed my whole perspective of things. I always thought, veganism or like a plant-based diet was something that hippies do, for the environment, for the animals, but I didn't think it was for health. So it was awesome to have that clinical evidence there, that's what really got me.
Right.
And so I just started changing my diet a little bit and cleaning it out a little bit more. And for Greek Easter, what we do is we fast 40 days before, kind of like Lent. So we give up all animal products, even oil too, which is really interesting because that's like what I'm on now.
Yeah.
So I did it for 40 days. I'm like, if I'm eating like this my whole life, why can't I just do the 40 days? I'd never done it before. So I did 40 days, 100% vegan. And, once I got to Easter, I didn't have any lamb or any meat animal products. I'm like, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. How about I just keep going? So it's been going ever since. And then I started researching a little bit more, and I ran into this guy named Durian Rider on YouTube, and he just changed my whole perspective on the carbs. Like I knew the plant-based thing worked, but I never knew I could eat that many carbohydrates and still be healthy, still be at a reasonable weight. And so that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm on a high-carb, low-fat, plant-based diet, and I'm feeling the best I've ever had.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful. All right, so before we continue with that, can you describe maybe a little more in detail some of the negative symptoms of being on that high protein, high fat diet?
Yeah.
Otherwise, AKA primal paleo.
Right. Like I said, the worst was when I would get those hot and cold chills, like on a really warm summer day. That was the worst. I was out for like a week. I went to the doctors, got injected with a bunch of things, just horrible. But, not some other things.
Elimination? Did it affect elimination, make elimination either constipation or diarrhea?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, digestion was not what it is now. I was never constipated per se, but it wasn't as regular as it is now. Because now
really interesting. It almost sounds like the high fat was clogging the body's ability to regulate temperature. It almost sounds like the fat content of that diet was obstructing the body's ability to regulate temperature.
Yeah, that and probably the lots of animal protein because I was doing lots of meat. I wasn't doing so much of dairy, even though I was eating like, it's like in a glass bottle, it was like raw dairy.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not as regular now. Now, like it just goes right through me, like it's really, it's what it should be.
Exactly.
And let's see, like other things, like, when I go out and like, either lift weights, go out for a run, play soccer, play sports, I would get lightheaded. I would get like little chills again, probably from not getting enough carbohydrates to be able to have the energy to do things.
Absolutely.
So just not having energy, not being as regular. Just overall like a worse state.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So then you saw Forks Over Knives and you decided to make this shift. Would you say initially it was basically a cooked vegan approach?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm still eating lots of cooked food. Before, with Forks Over Knives, I hadn't eliminated oil because I don't know, they just didn't make a big point of that. Even though I know Dr. Esselstyn's program, eliminate all oil, no nuts, for his therapy. So I was doing a little bit.
So he does say no nuts at all.
Yeah, no nuts, no avocados. Eliminating them for treatment for heart disease. Yeah, so I was doing all that stuff. I mean, I wasn't like sick with heart disease, so I was still including oil. But I guess it wasn't until I found Durian Rider's videos that like put an emphasis on the carbs, like lower fat percentage, and so I did. I eliminated oil probably when I saw his videos, and I feel a lot better. Oil definitely slows you down. Probably a little bit, it's not going to hurt you, but if you want to do your best, if you want to be athletic, you should definitely eliminate oils. So that's what I did.
All right. And you find that you get plenty of the healthy fats with the diet that you're eating.
Definitely. I mean, I've been getting blood tests here and there, so nothing is showing like I'm deficient in fats. I like to have some, if you want to call them overt fats, like avocados, nuts. I have those things, and I don't feel guilty about it. But yeah, even on, let's say if I was doing no nuts, no avocados, There's all the essential nutrients are found in fruits and vegetables, even fats, you know, omega-3s, omega-6s, which are the essentials.
Right.
They're all found in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, and since we're on this, let's see. Would you say you've been a cooked vegan for how long now?
Cooked vegan, I'd say probably till Easter, which, let's see, it must have been April 15th, 2012. I believe that's the date.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been doing cooked food ever since then. Cooked vegan, that is.
Right.
I did do raw, 100% 80-10-10 for like maybe a month. You know, it's not enough time to say that I really have experience with doing 80-10-10.
Yep.
But I do it here and there. I have full days of just fruits and vegetables, or like you know, a week or so.
Okay.
Here and there.
Well, that's interesting. Since you did have that month, can you talk a little bit about that experience and how it relates to the cooked vegan?
Yeah. You know, people talk about detox and that. I don't know if it was detox, but I definitely felt different. Like, I definitely felt here like a little bit more pressure. Maybe it was getting some things out that must have been stuck in there from my previous high-fat diet. So who knows? But definitely felt a lot better in digestion. And just more energy, you know, eating lots of bananas. That's what I was doing, because I knew I had to get in the calories. Let's say, like, which are low calorie, you have to eat like a lot of apples to sustain it. So I was doing a lot of bananas and definitely felt the energy there.
Yeah.
After that period, it definitely felt a lot easier to get in the calories, and it was really practical too. You know, like if I had to, I could stop by at a restaurant and order cooked vegan meals, low fat, plant-based. So it was a lot more practical for me. And coming back home too, if my family was making something that was vegan, you know, I could just sit down with them and eat a meal like that.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since you do mention family, how has that aspect of things been? What are the social dynamics of eating this way, first with immediate family and then in the broader culture?
Yeah. I don't think my parents were ever against me going vegan.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, some people struggle with like that sort of peer pressure from their family, from their friends. I never really had that from my family, and but I had the pressure when I was trying to get the message out to them. At first, it was really tough because they're like, "Well, that's great, it's working for you. I don't know if it's like for us, you know."
Yeah.
But you know, it's been a long journey. They've been picking up a few things that I've been learning. So they're almost vegan. My brother's 100% vegan, and my parents are like almost 100% vegan.
Wow.
So it's great. You know, it feels really good to be able to change other people's lives with all I've learned.
That's cool, Tino. That's really cool.
Yeah, and like, you know, I've gotten some things from my friends, but I've just I've stopped taking things like personally. You know, I've learned that other people are going to have different opinions about you. If you do something different from what they expect, you know, they're going to have something to say. So just don't take it personally.
Absolutely, absolutely. You kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but as you've been pursuing this way of living for the past, you know, over a year now, have you looked a little more closely at some of the ethical and ecological aspects of this way of living?
Definitely. Like I said, this was a health journey for me at first. I wouldn't have done it for anything else, because back in high school, I was eating Five Guys. To be honest, I was enjoying it and didn't give an F about anything else, right?
Yeah.
So it was a health journey. But, you know, the further I got into this vegan lifestyle, I couldn't keep my eyes away from like the animals and what we're doing to the planet for a long time. Like I started to turn my head to things, and I watched a documentary called Earthlings that was a huge awakening for me.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like from a nutrition standpoint, I believe if you eat 80% of your calories from carbs and still include like a little bit of animal products, you can still be healthy.
Yeah.
But at that point, like if I'm craving, let's say I'm craving meat, right? And I'm doing 80-10-10. at that point, it's an ethical standpoint for me. If I can have a vegan burger as opposed to a real one that takes a whole animal to produce one burger, I'm going to go with the vegan option, you know?
Yeah.
So it is an ethical standpoint for me now. But before it was just 100% health.
Right, right. You're making me think of another line, which is you've been into physical fitness and you've kind of been through these different diets. Can you talk about like strength development, endurance with your physical performance in relation to this new way of eating?
Yeah. So, you know, being on a high carb plant-based diet, I think not only will it make you thrive, but it's essential to be on this diet if you want to have physical performance. You know, I was trying to do a high protein, high fat diet before with lots of animal products, and it just doesn't work. The body cannot convert fat into sugar very well and very quick. So you need that glucose. You need to have it in your diet, and lots of it if you want to be able to put out the physical performance. So in that way, you know, it's definitely changed my perspective of what a healthy diet is just by seeing me how I feel on the pitch or whatever it is.
Yep. Okay. And is that so? Are you a runner? Are you a cyclist?
Yeah. I played soccer in high school. Now I just do it as recreational with my friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got into cycling because Durian Rider really got me into it after watching all of his videos. So I picked up a road bike, and I really enjoyed that. My dad used to do it professionally in Greece before. So I've gotten him back into it too. He's got a road bike, and we both go out riding, and it's awesome.
That's so cool, Tino. That's so cool. So what position did you play in soccer?
Yeah, so I played a lot of positions. I just loved being out on the pitch. I can play anything. During high school on my varsity team, I played, it was like we had a diamond defense. So I was on top of the diamond. I think it was called stopper. Okay. But I enjoy like the midfield area. So I was kind of like in the back section of the midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
almost like what they used to call a halfback, but it sounds more variable. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go through a couple of nutrients, and you give me your take on them. The first is B12.
Yeah. So with B12, that was the one that almost sent me back, not to my old diet, but incorporating animal products. I was doing my research, and apparently there's no B12 in plant-based foods. So it's like, man, you know, maybe the human diet should incorporate some animal products. But I did more research, and what happens is it's cobalamin that we need. Cobalamin is found in the soil. We take it in, and we convert it to vitamin B12. And so if animals have it, how do they get it, you know? And it's from the soil. It would be on our fruits and vegetables. So I'm vegan still because I've learned how important it is to do your research, you know, and not just, you know, take others' information. So with B12, right now I'm not supplementing it. I'm really curious to see if my body is converting it. So I'm going to go and have my blood tested, and just to make sure I'm getting enough, and constantly do it before I start supplementing.
Okay.
But if I have to, it's a very safe procedure. There hasn't been many consequences that have
arisen. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's safe, and Dr. McDougall, Dr. Neil Bernard, all those plant-based doctors, you know, promote it. So it's definitely safe.
Do you think if you'll do it, will you do oral supplementation, or will you do a shot?
Yeah, I did the like a little spray like under the tongue for a little while, but I never had blood tests before to compare them, so that's why I stopped, just to make sure I'm getting enough.
Gotcha.
If I had to reintroduce it again, I would go with the sublingual again, just to just to see if it's working. If it's not working, I would definitely get on the shots. I've heard great things about the shots working for people that aren't producing enough B12.
Right.
So maybe that would be my last straw and things. I would definitely get on the shots to be on the safe side.
Gotcha, gotcha. Just on a side note, getting these blood tests, is that expensive for you? Is that something that's covered by insurance? How's that work?
Um, I think it's covered by insurance. What I did was I went to my doctor and I was like, "Oh, doc, I'm not feeling too well. Like, maybe it's this new diet I'm on. Is it all right if I have these things checked? I hear vegans don't get enough of this and this, so I did it that way." I don't know if
That's
that's the
cool.
best way. Yeah, I don't know if
That's
that's the
great.
best way to go, but yeah.
That's great. Okay. And did you, so you have not yet tested for the B12 that, are you going to do that UMMA test?
I have tested for it actually. I don't remember the name of the test, but levels were just in the range.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm not. There's a couple of tests out there. I'll have to get familiar with them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm definitely curious to see if my body is producing enough of it just without any supplementation at all.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. What's your take on vitamin D?
Vitamin D. Um, well, just thinking about humans as a species and what their environment would be, we don't have heavy fur on us. We have naked skin. Like we would be out in a tropical environment where we could get enough heat to sustain ourselves. So we would be around sunlight in a normal environment. Now that we're getting up north and down south, we're starting to see more vitamin D deficiencies because we're not getting enough sunlight. And so, is that a natural thing to do, is living in these environments? If it is to save someone from a vitamin D deficiency, then a supplement might be something to think about, or else maybe moving in, down south or down or up north where the climates are a bit warmer.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. And the last one I'm a little bit curious about is iodine. Have you looked into iodine at all? Is that a concern at all for you?
It hasn't been a concern for me.
Okay.
Like I said, blood tests are fine with it. Iodine. So there's a lot of iodine in, I guess, the ocean. Like if they say you're running low on iodine, eat more fish, shrimp, or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
what are those animals eating? I think I think a good source of iodine would be like seaweed. I guess if you are running low, maybe experiment with that or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would always experiment with a whole food before going into supplementation.
Right.
And there's also, there's iodized salt. So, a lot of people are eating lots of salt and then they get off of it and then maybe they run into iodine deficiencies. It maybe could be due to that. So
Yeah.
I believe all nutrients are found in the whole plant-based foods. And so you just eat enough of them, you get enough of all of the essential nutrients.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
How about water? Are you drinking a lot of water in addition to what
Oh
you're
yeah.
eating? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I know some people recommend a high water content diet, and so that's good and all. But I do believe that you can still get dehydrated. If you want to go out for a bike ride or something like that, you're definitely going to need water. You can't do it on just stopping on the side of the road eating some watermelon or something. So I definitely drink water. I feel my best drinking water and just and staying hydrated too. There's teeth problems that run into dehydration. You can faint on while bike riding if you're not getting enough water. There's all sorts of consequences that come with it. So I just drink water, and I don't think there's anything bad with drinking water at all.
Okay. Do you have a certain minimum amount you try to get in each day, or does that just vary depending on your thirst? Or
Yeah. I've been kind of seeing myself on how I feel with different volumes of water. I've
yeah.
come to, on average, it's like maybe 3.5 liters of water a day.
Okay.
That's what I feel best on. And so I usually aim for something like that minimum per day.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And since we're going on some of these, what about sleep? Do you try to go to bed early? Is that important? Do you kind of sleep? Do you have to use an alarm clock? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so definitely with sleep, I try to get at least 10 hours, if I can, that is. You know, like lately I've been studying for exams. I've been staying up 3 or 4 in the morning, and you know, that's what I have to do.
Right.
But on a day that I can get sleep, yeah, I do aim for as much sleep as I can. Usually, as the sun goes down, I feel that that's a good indicator of what we would do in our natural environment. So we would go down with the sun. There's no point of staying up and not being able to see your surroundings.
Right.
So yeah, definitely try to get as much sleep as I can, and I feel best when I do get around, like, let's say 8 to 10 hours of sleep.
Yep. Okay. And can I ask you, I got the feeling, tell me if I'm right, are you studying anything related to diet and nutrition, or are you in a totally different area of study?
Yeah, I'm a dietetics student, so
Yeah.
I basically study, the normal nutrition recommendations.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
And it might be interesting to hear from you. Do you find within the educational system that there's a great deal of misinformation?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like some of the stuff they recommend. I mean, like let's say, like, for diabetes, right? They say limit your carbohydrates to control the diabetes.
Right.
And so what happens is, you know, diabetes, there's too much fat in the blood. It blocks the insulin receptors. Glucose can't get into the cell. So yeah, you eliminate sugar, you're not going to have these diabetes symptoms. But does that mean you're diabetic, you know, diabetes free or whatever? No. So it differs from what Dr. Neil Bernard or Dr. John McDougall would advocate: a high carbohydrate vegan diet to lower the fat in the blood and get the actual glucose into the cell. So different things like that, the way they treat certain diseases, what they recommend, definitely different. But I don't think anyone can argue that fruits and vegetables are bad for you. You know,
Right.
so at least
Right.
that part's accurate.
I tell you, it's really nice to know that there's going to be someone who's trained as a dietitian who kind of sees the whole picture. It's going to be a real breath of fresh air. So I'm glad you're going down that tack, man.
Oh, thanks.
One thing I'm curious about, you got this. Tell me how you got that interview with Dr. Esselstyn. That was a coup, man. Did you just send him an email and say, "Hey, man, I want to interview"? How'd you do that?
Well, I actually haven't gotten an interview with Dr. Esselstyn yet. I've had his son, though, Rip. I have
Okay.
Dr. McDougall, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Greger. Yeah, so I've gotten some pretty good interviews, if I must say. And you're doing a fine job yourself. You're getting a couple good names there too. You know, a lot of people ask me how I'm getting all these interviews. Basically, I just ask. You know,
Yeah.
I go on their website, I go on their emails and just ask them. And these people are so passionate about just getting the message out there. You know, they're definitely going to agree to do the interview with you and help people out.
That's great.
Yeah, so just reach out to people.
Did you? Let me ask you. Did you have to ask some of them more than once, or did you get a
I
response?
I got a really good response from Dr. McDougall. As soon as I sent him the email, he was like, "You name me the time and the date, and let's do it." You know.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So it was, I went a bit back and forth, you know, scheduling certain dates. You know, these people are really, really busy.
Yeah.
But eventually, you know, we find something that works and we just do it.
That's great. That's great. Let's see. What else? Are there? Tell for the audience the name of your site, your YouTube channel,
Oh yeah.
Facebook. Any references you'd like to share?
Sure. Yeah. So my YouTube channel is called Bananiac, and
Yep.
you can just type that in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's all under the same name. And like I said, I have like a bunch of awesome interviews that you guys can check out. And why I think interviews are so great is because you get that person to give their experience and their thoughts on things, and just get more opinions out there and more experiences. And I feel like that's one of the best ways that we can learn is from each other. So yeah, just have a bunch of videos on that. I have a lot more coming out. So yeah, check me out.
Great, great. Have you thought a little bit about the kind of savings that could be had within the medical system and society in general in terms of moving toward this kind of diet?
Yeah, you mean like a balance between like purchasing the food and like medical expenses with medicine and
Yeah, I mean,
surgeries.
yeah, there's a tremendous lost productivity,
Yeah,
the cost to society for having these curable, well, they wouldn't be diseases if people were eating the right way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Is because some people, they're like, well, that's a really expensive. It's expensive to get organic, or it's expensive to live on a vegan diet. You're gonna pay it off one way or the other. You're gonna pay it off either later in life with a heart surgery or some sort of medical procedure, or you can act now and get on a healthy plant-based diet. And if you're spending your money out on retail stores like I used to go out every weekend and buy clothes and other stuff that I didn't need. I was doing it to impress other people. And so if you can't cut back on those worthless expenses, and do something that's worthwhile to you, your health is your greatest asset. So, that's where you got to spend your money, or else you're going to pay one way or the other.
Right, right. All right. Well, Tino, I really appreciate your time. And is there anything else you'd like to add, like for folks that are maybe coming to this for the first time, or maybe just the raw food or the cooked vegan community in general? Any points you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, your health is your greatest asset. This is so important because if you're unhealthy, you're not going to be able to interact with those around you, your loved ones. And that's what life is all about, is being there for each other. And so if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And so, definitely think about getting on the plant-based lifestyle if you haven't already. Watch documentaries like Forks Over Knives. Watch Earthlings. Watch, there's so many documentaries out there. Read books like The China Study, Dr. Esselstyn's program for preventing and reverse heart disease, and Dr. Neil Bernard's what is it called? Reversing diabetes, right?
Yep,
And the starch solution, things like that. Just educate yourself as much as you can on this diet. This is working, and it's getting people healthy again. So yeah, just do your research and feel free to contact me on any of the social media platforms, and I'd love to point you in the right direction.
All right, Tino, thank you very much.